Well, we had a slight hiccup. I do apologise. Thank you very much for joining us. It's great for you to come and spend your time with us. There was a slight issue with the webinar software we were using for some reason. We had a bad gateway, so I apologise to anyone that got a bad gateway. We're now up and running, and we are now making it happen. We just want to make sure of a few things first. One, can you just let us know you can help, you can hear us? If you just put in the comments, yes, we can hear you coming through loud and clear. I know that you've got, yes, Sam, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Blimey. Okay, excellent. So we know you can hear us. Can you see us, and can you see the presentation? Let's just make sure. Actually, we're not as important, but the presentation definitely is. Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We normally leave it a couple of minutes before we start to allow people to join us. We've done that by default. So we're going to crack on straight away. And I'm going to hand straight over to Ricky. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. A very warm welcome to today's Ultimate Hack Series for e-commerce sellers. We are global e-commerce experts, and we're bringing you the latest suggestions from the industry's top thought leaders. Today's presentation is a compilation of 17 tricks and techniques, not to mention some in-depth knowledge to boost your opportunity online in 2023. A mixture of golden nuggets for eBay, Amazon, and of course, direct-to-consumer sellers too. We brought together some of our trusted partners with working with the most successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, and we've compiled these for you for free. The format for the session is a quick intro to each hack creator, and there'll be a QR code on each slide so that you can connect to them on LinkedIn. You can see mine and Andy's there as well. If you want to take any individual conversations any further, you will also show you the website or location where you can take advantage of the opportunity. We're assuming that you already sell online and you are now planning the next stages of the growth in your business. So without further delay, let's do some quick introductions and then we'll get straight down to business.
Fantastic. My name is Andy Hooper. I'm the CEO here at Global E-Commerce Experts, and we successfully expand e-commerce brands into Europe. My e-commerce journey started about 15 years ago when I started selling silicone watches on Amazon and flipping things on eBay that I'd found found in a shop and then flip it and resell it. I've been in e-commerce all of that time. I built a successful e-commerce Amazon store, and then from there I then moved more into service-based, which I much prefer, hence why I'm here and not still selling products.
My name's Ricky Hooker. I'm also part of our Global E-Commerce Experts alongside Andy, and I've been building and trading international businesses between the US and the EU for the last 20 years.
Fantastic. So we're going to get started. Please keep the questions coming in. We've got a team that are going to be answering all of your questions. So keep on talking about it and keep on putting your things in there. These hacks are really here to support you in making sure your business can continue to grow and expand and build out a very successful business. So let's get on with the first slide today. The first one we're going to talk about is the first hack, which is from Global E-Commerce Experts. Yes, this is very short, very brief. We built a framework that has helped support over 2,000 sellers now successfully expand their brand. Now, this model, this process, this framework is something that anyone could use when you're expanding to any market. So whether you're expanding to Mexico, Canada, France, Germany, UK, Canada, yeah, I've already said that, Australia, UAE, wherever that might be, it's really, really key. You can use the same process. Some of the words might change. Some of the processes might be slightly different. But the bottom line is the framework is exactly the same. Now, the trick here is for those of you that are actively selling, you've got products. The thing that you've got is a great category, a great catalog of products. What you now want to do is take those same products and sweat the asset. What we mean by that is being able to take that product and order more products from your manufacturer. Imagine instead of ordering 5,000, you can order 10,000. You're going to get a much better price on those products. You can then sweat that asset by expanding that brand into additional markets. So our number one hack is to take your current products and successfully expand them into other markets. Now that's a very, very short one, and we're going to move on to the next hack now.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. So hack number 2 is from Vincenzo from Ecommerce. Thanks very much for the connection there. Some great online content created by those guys. You can connect with Vincenzo from his LinkedIn profile just on the QR code. You'll see these for all the hacks coming up. So e-commerce's hack number 2 in the series is to optimize your Amazon live streaming. The tips here are to live stream for at least 30 minutes or more. This is on Amazon in particular, so Amazon live streaming. Live stream for at least 30 minutes or more. Create live-only promotions for the live stream. Don't just talk about your goods, actually show them, and use the URL in the app to share the live stream with other audiences outside of Amazon. So hack number 2 from Ecommerce is to optimize your Amazon live stream.
Oh, it's on to me. Excellent. So the next one is from Karina. Karina runs Ecommerce Nurse. She is an ex-Amazonian. I did a great podcast with her about 3 or 4 months ago. So if you want to hear more about Karina's journey in e-commerce, how she got into Amazon, how she then developed Ecommerce Nurse, there's a great podcast that we can send the link for. But you can go to iTunes and follow or find E-commerce Expanded Secrets, and you'll find the interview there. So Karina's hack is really, really straightforward, but it's probably one of the key ones I see that people don't use often enough. And this all comes down to the images for your products. And actually what she's saying here is actually the key thing you need to do, the key hack is making sure you've got infographics on your image. Now, when you do that, you can do that well and you can do that badly. It's about making sure you're putting the right infographics on the product, on the images, to make sure they really sell the product. There's a few things you can do to have a look. The first thing to do is, before you do that, is start doing a little bit of research. Find what other people are doing, perhaps your competitor, perhaps the bestseller on Amazon. See what the big brands are doing and see if there's some tips you can take from there. What you can then do is then use the image with some graphics or some arrows to really highlight the key features and benefits of that product. We all buy things from images. We look at that and we click through the first few images and we want to make sure that it's right. So Karina's hack is infographics to boost the conversion of your product and help you sell more products.
Well, there you go. Hack number 4 is from Yoni at Multiply Me. If you're not connected with Yoni or familiar with what Multiply Me do, it's a huge thought leader in terms of the content he creates and puts online. So I recommend that you connect with the content that Yoni's creating. Multiply Me provide virtual assistants and staff through via overseas e-commerce specific talented overseas staff to help boost the productivity of your business. Yoni's hack for this series is setting the foundations for programmatic SEO using AI. Now look, we're talking here about ChatGPT. It didn't even exist at the beginning of November last year. We're running this in January 2023. This is very much a 2023 hack. Content is king. Instead of investing time in writing multi-variation pages yourself, the track here is to use an AI engine that takes the heavy lifting from your team, enables them to optimize what's left to be done with the content. It's not about replacing your team. It's about maximizing the opportunity of using programmatic SEO and AI to create the content to help you be able to use the time to optimize your listings. So hack number 4 from Multiply Me from Yoni, thank you very much, is content is king. The main driver behind any good marketing strategy, use AI to create good content.
Fantastic. That's a great one, Yoni. Thank you very much. Next one's from Daniel Honig of Seller Logic. I had to get my words out there. I apologize. This is a really, really good one because this is something that comes up time and time again. As a seller, you're always looking to sell your products for more. And the reason for that is your margins are constantly going up. Your competitors, you're always competing against your competitors. And what you need to be able to do is set yourself aside from your competitors. Now, it's all very well saying that, and doing that, there's 2 different things. We've got to make sure that those 2 things are very, very different. So what Daniel's suggestion and key hack is about selling based on metric, not on price. So I'm going to give you a few different things here. What you need to be able to do is set yourself aside from Amazon. right? And your competition. First thing is, if your competition isn't selling on Amazon, you probably should. If your competition isn't selling on eBay, you probably should. If your competition, you see where I'm going, yeah? Where else can you sell your product, which is asymmetric, right? How else can you sell it in a different way that your competitors aren't? That's the first key thing. The second thing is, can you set yourself aside from other things? We want to make sure we've got better delivery. So if, for example, if you see that your competitor's got 2-day delivery, you want 1-day delivery. If you see that your competitor's got nothing as a standard, you could add something to it by, let's say you've got, I'm going to use this, a pen. You sell pens, you could sell lids that go with it, right? Anything you can do to add and boost the product to set yourself aside from the competition. You'll be seeing now a lot of people that do bundles. How can you bundle your products to make it different to somebody else? So here we go. So the key hack here is don't sell on price, sell on metric, and utilize simple things like bundles to enable that to sell better, faster, quicker, more attractive than your competitor.
That's a gold one, that one. Thank you. So hack number 6 is from Chris Cook at Opticella. Opticella are the one of the closest linked partners with eBay. So this is specifically for eBay sellers, but it is relevant to all online marketplaces. Opticella's hack for this series is to optimize your listing by checking your category status and using secondary categories. So when it comes to listing optimization on eBay, firstly, ensuring that you're in the correct category. There's a huge amount of sellers who are selling online on platforms like eBay that aren't in the right category. For example, if you search for the term women's vintage skirt on eBay, eBay dynamically chooses women's skirts for the category for the buyer, but doesn't, for instance, include vintage. So the first one gets a significantly higher search results than vintage, but the second one is where the search volumes will deliver results. On eBay, you do have the option to add a secondary category. So the tip here in this example would be to add a secondary category for vintage skirts. So you're maximizing both your exposure on the front end as well as the richer opportunity in the secondary listing. Depending on your store subscription on eBay, there can be a cost to assign secondary categories, but the benefit certainly outweighs the cost. So Opticella's hack for the series is to check your categories, adjust and experiment, and utilize secondary category options as well. Opticella, Chris Cook, thank you very much. You want to connect to Opticella, please use the QR code on the screen there now.
That's a great one. So now we're going to move on from Rene from BidX. This is really, really cool. You know, it's about automating your Amazon ads. This is where we're going next. You know, you want to be able to make your life easier, simpler, faster, and give you data sooner. We all make business decisions based on the data that we see and the information and metrics that we gather to make an informed business decision. And what Rene and the team at BidX talking about is automating some of that process to make it really, really easy. You want to exclude your main keywords and use them in a specified campaign with a higher target ACOS to automate, to make sure and maintain visibility. I think there's some really key bits here, and in the white paper, I'm only going to give you a snippet of information, but in the white paper, there's going to be a little bit more information about this, about how to make that better. But really, it's about splitting up your campaigns to generate automatic keywords to utilize and optimize those further down in the other campaigns. Now, many of you will know about broad and exact campaigns, about how making those really easy, but having them as focused ad groups as you extract the different campaigns and the information from them to enable them to create main keywords. And you don't necessarily need thousands of those, but you do need a solid number that are generating traffic. And we're going to come on to another hack shortly, which is going to lead on from this. And I think that's really important. But it's about excluding the main keywords and adding the generic ones to make sure you're creating and adding a really solid SEO ads platform. But you need to be able to automate that, because if you've got hundreds of products, you need to be able to automate this to make your life easy to ensure you continue selling. Rene, thank you very much for the team. You can connect with him on the QR code there, and there'll be more information in the white paper. Over to you, Ricky.
So hack number 8 in the series is less technical and more about how you're presenting your brand as a whole. It's been put in by Kitty live from Me Brand. I did a fantastic podcast with her a few weeks ago. Utterly inspirational character. Again, another person that I thoroughly recommend that you connect with on LinkedIn. Her content is absolutely incredible. Kitty's hack for the series is building a successful brand that encompasses sustainability. Now, increasingly, week by week, month by month, clients, buyers, and sellers want a sustainable option. It's becoming increasingly more topical, and it really attracts a different type and caliber of client, not to mention you're doing it for reasons from an environmental perspective. So Kitty's laid out 4 or 5 key aspects that you should take into consideration if you want to start taking responsibility from a sustainability perspective. The first one is your brand principles. If you're starting a new brand, then you need to instill sustainable practices into your brand right from the outset, and then carry it through into your brand dialogue. That's not just about what you're saying, it's about what you're doing. And if you already have an existing brand, then reevaluate those principles to set out a new course of becoming sustainability. How are you going to act? How are you going to package? What kind of message are you going to do? What logistics supply chain are you going to use? All of these aspects of what that means. You also need to start being transparent and talking about it. Let your audience and customers know that you're going to be encompassing sustainability within your business. It's quite possible, feasible, and very well proven that that your end buyer is willing to pay with the knowledge that they're getting a sustainable option. The third thing is the conversation, making sure that you let your audience and customers know what you're doing from a sustainability perspective, the type of actions you're taking, the decisions you've made, and why they're doing it. Include them in that process. Fourthly, it's important that you take action. There's a number of sustainability practices that will impact the planet positively, things like packaging, as I've already mentioned, but they're also going to make a difference to the desirability of your product and the desirability of your brand. Finally, of course, it's really important to commit to and maintain the things that you're doing. Sometimes they're slightly harder, sometimes they might be slightly more expensive, sometimes they might be the more difficult route, but collectively, as an industry, if you maintain commitment and you help to maintain the loyalty of your customers, they will buy into what you're delivering. So, Kitty, absolutely fantastic that you've been involved. Thank you very much. Again, urge you to connect to Kitty on the QR code there. So, Kitty's hack for the series is build a successful brand that encompasses sustainability in 2023.
Nice. Thanks, Ricky. I think that's a really good one. Okay, next one. Nick from Hello Tax, thank you very much for your input on this. And I guess this one really sort of adds weight to what we already talk about. I think that we talk a lot about here at Global Ecommerce Experts about how you can successfully expand. Well, there's one thing successfully expanding, but there's also the metrics and the data that come behind that. I've already talked about metrics and data once this evening already, or this afternoon or morning, depending on where you're from. So Nick put some really, really key things down here. And I think that the first thing is that Europe is almost twice the size of the USA. There's millions and millions and millions of unique visitors a month on all the different platforms. The key thing says there's 28 countries, there's 20 different languages. And on top of that, that makes it slightly more complicated in many ways, but the ability and the option for you to sell to another 550 million people is amazing. So Nick, thank you very much for your input. Hack, expand to Europe.
Well, I think we started off that one right at the beginning. Hack number 10 is from Matt from Marketplace Amp. Thank you, Matt. This one's going to really test your maths capacity. And this is about Amazon sellers understanding the mighty A9 algorithm, learning and optimizing your listings to be able to take control of your destiny when it comes to the A9 algorithm. I think it's really important here to put some time and research into which of your keywords that you need to optimize and set ranking campaigns on Amazon. The white paper is going to go into the detail. I mean, Matt presented to us literally the A9 formula CTR times CVR times sales velocity times DPV divided by category and multiplied by Amazon margin. It's getting pretty techie here, but the underlying point here is that you need to go to Seller Central if you're an Amazon seller. You need to go to brand metrics. You need to begin to rank your campaigns based on your best keywords. And once you've started to rank your keywords, you'll begin getting a handle on optimizing your listings for the A9 algorithm. So if you haven't altered the rankings, your keywords or your rankings for some time, the A9 algorithm is running at full capacity now. You will be losing opportunity. So hack number 10 from Marketplace AMP. Go ahead and connect with them if you want to learn more about the inner geek of the algorithm, is to rank your keywords and master Mighty A9.
Nice. Okay, next one's from Lee from Seller Investigators. Now, for every seller I speak to, everyone is looking for the extra percent. You know, how can I gain an extra 1%? How can I reduce my cost by 1%? How can I save 1%? How can I sell more than 1%? How can I, all of these things start to add weight to you as a business owner. How can you build out your brand? How can you optimize everything you've done? But the number one thing you need as a business owner is cash. Cash flow is king. We all know that. And having cash liquidity in the business to enable you to be able to expand your brand, buy more products, spend more on ads, spend more than the competition, add more to your social reach, whatever that might be. You need to be able to make sure that you've got cash to be able to make that happen. Now, I think that what Lee talks about here is really, really key. And I think one of the number one things that none of us as business owners really, really have dialed in right until we get further and further down the line is having a standard operating procedure. Now, this operating procedure is my favorite, because this standard operating procedure is about having a standard process for the ability to go to Amazon and ask for, hey, I want to make sure that I've got all the reimbursements from you that I'm entitled to, because no one does that on a regular basis. And the last thing you want to do is be out of term to be able to go back and capture that. So really, this is a very, very simple hack. Automate your reimbursements and make sure you're working with obviously a thorough accredited person or company that can audit that for you. Really, really key. Make sure you get the money you're owed from Amazon and make sure you've automated that. So the hack is automate your reimbursement process to make sure you get it on a monthly basis.
Very cool. That's free money, isn't it?
100%.
So hack number 12, we're really flying through these now. This is from Dresma, and it talks about convert worthy images for under $5. This one is about updating and considering the images of your listings for 2023 and using a mobile app to create rich content. It's an opportunity to brand your product using rich visual content, create lifestyle scenes, which are traditionally time-consuming and expensive. You'd normally need to hire a studio, photographers, a stylist and whatnot, as well as investing in a range of props. So this is a very quick and simple one, and it's very valid to all marketplaces and DTC sellers as well. Start a catalog shoot on Do My Shoot mobile app. You can use the QR code there to access the app and get going immediately. This is a really fast way of looking really slick online. Review your catalog photos, check out decide which ones you don't like, which ones you do like, see which ones you could improve your sales from adding some improved imagery. Get on the Do My Shoot mobile app, start creating some content and getting it uploaded.
I'd just like to add something to that. We're going slightly off piste here, but you know, one of the number one things I see where people foul or they don't move forward enough is they just don't take action. They're like, oh, well, I need to wait for the perfect images. I need to make sure I've done this. I need to do that. You've got to take as many of the shortcuts as you possibly can to enable you to start selling straight away. If you can get 80% of the way to launch your brand straight away and refine the 20% as you go, that's absolutely critical. And something like this enables you to be able to do that much, much quicker. And it's about speed to market to enable you to sell your products quickly and fastly. Sorry, we went off piece there. But I'm going to move on to the next slide. So the next one is from Gel Ship, Global E-commerce Logistics. And actually, this is a really, really key one, because if you think about it, when you are sending your products anywhere in the world, you need to make sure you understand the customs processes coming in and out of that region. And coming into Europe is no different to that. Since Brexit, all of the countries have tightened up the regulations, which has basically meant that if you are based outside of Europe, and I include the UK in that, is if you're based outside of Europe, you need either a direct or an indirect representative in order for you to send products into the region. Now, I'm going to start with direct. A direct representation means you've got an entity in the country in which you're sending products. So if you're based in the UK, you own a business in the UK and you can send products in. Obviously, exactly the same across Europe. Now, in order to do that, you need to set up a company, you need to have directors, you need shareholders, you need to pay corporation tax, you need to pay directors tax, and there's a lot of things that you need to be able to do that. It takes a lot of cash, it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of time away from you running the business. It's quite a lengthy way to do it, and actually, until you're probably doing about 100 million in Europe, in that country, you probably don't need that. There is a much easier way, which is indirect representation, which basically means you can you don't need to have an entity in those regions. You work with a company that has a company in those regions, like GelShip, who can help you ship your products into the various regions within Europe and be able to expand you and enable you to ship products into those countries. So you need to decide whether you need direct or indirect. So the hack here is have an indirect representative in each country in which you're looking to ship. And obviously GelShip, Lucy, thank you very much for the information there. She will be able to support you with that.
Yeah, there's no LinkedIn profile link there for Lucy, but if you were after a specialist e-commerce shipper to internationally to move your goods internationally, the website link there, gelship.com, is a good place to start.
Nice.
Moving on then to number 14. This is a very cool one. This is from Pradeep from Donsfield. Pradeep, I mean, I've said this in virtually all of my hacks. We love the content that's created by these people. And again, Pradeep produces some incredible, thought-provoking and content at the forefront of the e-commerce industry. So again, another person, if you're interested in tips and tricks on increasing your trade, Pradeep's a good person to connect to on LinkedIn. His profile there on the QR code at the bottom of the screen. So Pradeep, in all his wisdom, came about this from completely the other way around. Pradeep specializes in acquiring and rebuilding distressed e-commerce brands. So he's presented his hack from the other way around. Rather than these things that you that you should do, well, they are the things that you should do. These are things that people who are failing don't do. So this is a hack from the opposite way around. And this is a 4-in-1 special. Thank you, Pradeep, for what you've put in here. He's talking about taking control of the costs of your e-commerce business at every level. In the first instance, he's talking about the cogs of the component parts of your product. Renegotiate terms with manufacturers. Get right into the detail of what they're made of, how they're made. Ask what each component of your products is made from, how it's made, and what it costs. And then work with the manufacturer to try and understand how you can reduce costs or collectively produce it cheaper. Did another great webinar with Pradeep a few weeks ago where he talks about working alongside a manufacturer and actually buying component pieces that he could do better from other countries to then help compile the product that he wanted to make to virtually double his margin. So some really smart thinking there of every different layer of the vertical and horizontal parts of the supply chain. Secondly, inventory management. If you're selling abroad or selling internationally, or you're an entrepreneur working from home in particular, then you're going to be using third-party logistic businesses. So Pradeep's tip here is to find a better 3PL with cheaper storage, or importantly, lower losses, and not sending over a year's worth of stock, sending in monthly stock volumes, and then adding 25-30% more than the last month's total selling average. to maintain a healthy amount of stock within your 3PL rather than having too much. You're going to need a 3PL even if you're selling on Amazon when you start moving into countries abroad, because otherwise you won't be able to trade on other marketplaces. And of course, Amazon's inventory limits are very, very volatile. So and part 3 here is controlling your HR cost, only paying directly for the central consultancy you need, and then outsourcing and scaling everything else. And of course, we told you earlier on about Yoni from Multiply Me. His business is directly involved in supplying those staff, including ones to Pradeep, I know. You'll see there that you get a huge amount of control over your more expensive costs. Finally, the tip here is not to launch too many products at once, even at the point of needing to break even and then go back again to scale when you've learned and you've made the mistakes. We are, of course, only ever the sum of our failures, and our success is only the sum of our failures. So don't launch too many products at once. Know that some will win and some will fail, and then go back to be able to scale properly. So Pradeep's message is don't do the things that failing e-commerce businesses don't do, and do the ones that they don't.
Fantastic. So moving on to Pavel from Link My Books. Pavel successfully scaled and exited 2 Amazon brands, getting over 7 figures. So I think it's really, really important that this information is really, really key. And I like what he talks about here as a really, really key hack. You need to understand what is a sale, what is a refund, because you can work out and look at the data, coming back to data and metrics of your business. Yeah, it's all coming back. It does lots of those things come back to that. You know, when you're doing your bookkeeping each month, separate out your sales and your refunds. Work out which country they're coming from and which marketplace, so you can break those down to make sure you're understanding where the products are coming from, or where you're selling the products, where the refunds are coming back, returns, and then you make sure that you optimize things to make sure they're working. And you need to ensure that that's done correctly. So a great example would be I bought a pair of shoes on Amazon not too long ago, and when I got it, it was the wrong size. That's not because I'd ordered the wrong size. The organization that I bought them from had sold US size shoes to me instead of UK size shoes. Now, if you was looking at your data and your metrics, you'd be able to start analyzing the returns and the refunds that you're doing to identify what really, really works and what isn't working. So you need to make sure you're splitting those out, because if you can split them out, we can only look at the data that we're measuring. If you're measuring it, you can understand it. If you're understanding it, you can make business critical decisions based on that. So here's the hack from Pavel. Thank you very much. Separate your sales from your refunds and make sure you're doing that per marketplace and per country. Thank you, Pavel.
Great. Number 16. This is another slightly geeky one, but it's one that we do like. This is from Megan Baumer from GS1. Now, we're obviously talking here, we're talking to you here from the United Kingdom. There's a lot of e-commerce sellers from internationally who are or would like to trade in the UK and the EU, especially those sellers from the United States. You may or may not know, if you're selling from the United States, that not all barcodes are the same. So hack number 16 from Megan from GS1 is to look at your barcodes and prepare for a wider audience by providing global barcodes. Sellers who add GTINs, international barcodes, to their listings often see a significant boost in their impressions and their sales conversions. Reason is that their barcodes, from an Amazon perspective, from all sellers' perspective, are compatible internationally. In the US, the GTIN ID is encoded into a barcode, but in Europe, there's different requirements for EAN barcodes, which is an article number, a European article number. These are valid much more internationally. Now, if you build your business internationally via a consultant, they'll help you through adding these barcodes onto your products and making available to you alternate barcodes that will be valid in other countries. So hack number 16 from Megan. Thank you very much. Go ahead and connect with Megan if you want any help with providing your barcodes. Is to look now before you start trading internationally on making sure that your barcode listings, and therefore your listings within your Amazon upload are compatible for global trade.
Excellent. Next one's from Mike at Celesta. Thank you very much for putting this one in. I think this one links onto the SEO one that I was talking about earlier with Amazon ads and automating those. And this is something that quite often gets lost in translation, but you need to make sure you're benefiting from long tail keywords. And there's a few things that you need to understand about your keyword strategy to make sure that's going to work. It needs to be aligned across your advertising. You need to make sure that the overall promotion strategy is working and the rationale is relatively straightforward. So there's 4 key things that Mike has put down here. The first thing is about digging the keywords, identifying what they are and what they look like. The second one is filtering them for the relevancy in the search volume, because there's no point having a long tail keyword there if it doesn't generate anything. It's got to actually produce search volume. You need to make sure you're filtering by keyword density to understand what the density of each word is. And then lastly, find those with lower density but higher relevancy, because that's going to help you to create and make sure that when someone's looking for your product, it's relevant. There's nothing worse than you search for a product and they've clearly used a long tail keyword in the SEO, and you only go and find it and it's really not that. It's just not comparable. So you need to make sure that it's relevant to the product in which you're selling. And that's really, really important. You need to make sure that. So write a best of the listing, focus on these essential keywords and integrate them with your pay-per-click strategy to make sure you're getting your product seen by your target audience. And that strategy is the same strategy you can use across multiple pay-per-click SEO platforms, whether that be Amazon or Google Ads. You know, if you've got a Shopify store and you're trying to do that, you can do all of those things. Absolutely critical. And I think that actually was the last hack. I think that took longer than we thought it was going to take.
Yeah, it did take slightly longer. There you have it. Those are, as promised, the 17 hacks for the first expansion series hacks. We are e-commerce sellers. We are international traders. If you follow all 17 of those pieces of advice, it will impact your business without any shadow of a doubt. But we're very aware there's a lot of content there. There's a lot of detail. So, Andy, how can the people watching here expand on what they've learned here in the video?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the first thing is that, you know, we as business owners, you as business owners, people with brands looking to do more, develop your brand, increase your sales. I think there's things that you need to do. And the first thing is to how you learn. I think you've got to educate yourself about all these different hacks. But the number one thing that'll make you different to everybody else is about you taking the action to enable that to happen. We talked about that in one of the other hacks where I just sort of talked about making sure you're taking that action. Because the difference between you and your competitor is you taking the action to make that happen. If you're taking the action and they're not, you will be ahead of them when it comes to the sales. How can you do that? Well, everything we've done today will be coming out in a white paper to you. That's what you can do. There will be a recording of this that will be distributed lightly. We won't be sending this everywhere. If you've missed a part of it, you will be able to get it, but if they didn't turn up, they won't be getting it. Now, how else can you learn and educate yourself? Well, on our platforms, we have a YouTube channel and a podcast. Both of those have podcasts we've done with many, have got interviews and interviews with some of the people we've already discussed. We talked about that as we were going through. So if you want to learn more about those people, how they got into e-commerce, what they're doing to succeed, you can go and get to our YouTube and podcast channels. The other thing that we have produced at Global E-commerce Experts, we've got our very own book, How to Successfully Expand Your E-commerce Brand. We've got that information. We've got a book. You can read the book and you'll be able to find out more about that. And lastly, very lastly on this piece, before we get on to how you can actually contact us, is we've also got roadshows. So what we do is we create active workshops. Many of you would have been to seminars where you go away from the seminar and you've listened to someone talk and actually you've not come away with tangible assets or things you can do to go away and increase your brand. We've created workshops that we run around the world that works with e-commerce sellers. We've got some coming up, depending on when you're looking at this, in the US. We've got 5 that we're doing across the US in the coming months. We do these on a regular basis, which enables you to come and sit down and go to a workshop that enables you to come up with an action plan on how to successfully expand your brand. Gives you tangible benefits and a resource, a piece of paper that gives you an action plan of what you need to do to expand. Those bits are from me. I'm going to hand back to Ricky to how you can get in touch with Global E-commerce Experts.
Yeah, there's a few things that you can do. We're offering an account health check and feasibility study to everyone who's turned up today. That's an exclusive offer just for people that have attended the session today. So there's 2 QR codes there for a feasibility study to understand, are my products right to be selling in the UK and the EU market? And if you already are, am I optimizing my sales for the UK and the EU market? So specifically for overseas sellers who are interested in selling in the UK and the EU. If you want to talk further about doing it and getting some help doing it, then have us put the contact email address into the chat there, and there's also a QR code to be able to connect directly with the team here. Wherever you are in the world, whatever you're selling, however you're going about doing it, wish you the very best of luck with your expansion journey, and we look forward to seeing you again on some content again in the future.
Thanks very much, everyone. Have an amazing evening. Thank you for spending with us. Ricky, thank you very much.
Thank you.